Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelly Gillespie. I work with the Missouri Biotechnology Association. Also on the call with me today are MOBIO staffers Michelle Lumpkins and Lisa Zimmerman. And we appreciate you joining us for MOBIO Breakthrough. We have a great program today. And as we get started, I also wanted to plug our upcoming program so that you can make a note of that for your calendars if you haven't spotted it already. MD Group is going to be our featured company on May the 19th. And that program's at 10 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, I had to check the other notes, but Christopher Kennedy, are you on the phone this morning? May have stepped away, but Christopher is one of MOBIO's board members and is involved in a couple different companies here in Missouri and elsewhere. And MOBIO Breakthrough was one of his suggestions to the organization a little over a year ago, and said, we've got to do something in the territory of virtual programming, and he stepped in with staff and made a big difference. And today, Christopher, we had 99 registrants, and that is a testament to how this program has grown, how important it is, and how we will also remain flexible and figure out ways using the website, the newsletter, and of course, as we reopen, to going into active personal visits and tours and in-person meetings again. Those days will reemerge, and they are before us, really due to the great science that a lot of our member companies have been involved in promoting for both vaccines and therapies this past year. I just want to say, it is an honor to have Sinclair Research and George Carrick and Eric Blair and the entire team with us today. In so many ways, Sinclair Research was one of the very first members that I ever visited when I started with MOBIO back in 2005. And I've just felt like I've grown up in the role, and the organization's grown up, and Sinclair has grown up from just those really early days and small facilities to really substantial employer in mid-Missouri and a Missouri success story. George, the program is yours. Thank you very much for your helpful efforts in arranging this.
Yeah, and thank you. I'd like to, well, first I'd like to thank Kelly, Michelle, and Lisa for inviting us to participate in this MOBIO Breakthrough session, and for Christopher for coming up with the idea. And to all of you for taking time out of your day to learn more about Sinclair Research and what we've been up to in the region. We'll start off with some introductions. I'm George Carrick. I'm the Director of Marketing at Sinclair Research. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years now. Prior to being at Sinclair, I worked as a global strategic marketing manager for the discovery and safety assessment business unit of what was then Envigo, and has recently been acquired by Covance. And over the last 10 years, I've worked in a variety of CROs in microbiology, analytical chemistry, and biopharmaceutical development areas. Andy?
Sure, thanks, George. My name's Andy Brown. Nice to meet all of you, some of you for the first time, but I'm the Vice President of Commercial Operations at Sinclair. I joined Sinclair in October of 2018, and my background, similar to George's, I've worked in CROs and research models businesses in the past, primarily in sales, marketing, and leadership functions. And prior to Sinclair, I was the Vice President of Global Strategic Accounts for Envigo, prior to that business becoming Covance. So my background is crop protection, chemical, animal and human health contract research services. Ian?
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Ian Vantal, and I'm sure you can tell by my accent, I was born and raised in the United Kingdom, where I took on a career as an animal technician at a company called Huntingdon Life Sciences. I then later moved to Italy and worked at Roma Toxicology for a while before returning to Huntingdon. And in 2002, I was enticed over to come and work at a CRO in New Jersey, which happened to subsequently become Invigo. In 2017, I was promoted to the position of general manager at Invigo and was living life to the full when we were then subsequently purchased by Covance, who's owned by LabCorp. At that time, they let go the entire senior management team, and I was one of those casualties. But thanks to George and Andy, they enticed me over to come take a look at Sinclair. And I've been here now since 2020.
Great.
Thanks. During today's presentation, we're going to try to make this interesting for you. We'll introduce you to Sinclair Research, highlighting a history of innovative research and drivers of recent growth. We'll give you a glimpse into our recent facility and service expansions. And then we'll talk about Sinclair's life sciences jobs creation in the region and why companies and industry professionals are coming to Missouri to conduct their non-clinical research programs. So Sinclair Research operates as a non-clinical contract research organization, or CRO, offering in vivo research services to support efficacy, toxicology, and safety pharmacology studies for regulated product developers in the biopharmaceutical industry, animal health industry, and medical device industry. So what does that mean? For the biopharmaceutical industry, we conduct efficacy and safety assessment on new compounds to provide the data that these drug developers need to submit an investigational new drug or IND application to the FDA or other global regulatory authorities to demonstrate that their new compound is safe and effective enough to progress into clinical trials. This includes small molecule compounds, large molecule biopharmaceuticals, and we also have experience supporting novel cell and gene therapies. For the animal health industry, Sinclair supports similar efficacy and safety studies for new veterinary medicine products, as well as EPA FIFRA regulated products, including things like tick collars and other pesticide or repellent spot treatments that you would apply to your pet's coat. We also conduct dental studies on pet products that want to use the Veterinary Oral Health Council's registered seal on their products that are intended to help either retard plaque or tartar on the teeth of animals. We also support the medical device industry with biocompatibility, efficacy, and safety studies on novel devices, including joint replacements and a variety of surgical devices. Now, Sinclair is right in the heart of the animal health corridor, or if there are any cardiologists in the audience, it's somewhere in the left ventricle. Our facility is located between Columbia and Fulton, Missouri, just a few miles north of I-70. And we're only about 20 minutes from downtown Columbia. Sinclair's success and growth has been possible because of our location in the animal health corridor, and we're really proud to be one of the life science companies in the region that's had such a direct impact on animal health and supporting so many of our fellow animal health companies in the region. Now for a little historical context. Sinclair itself started out in the 1960s out of the University of Missouri as the Sinclair Comparative Medical Research Farm. A lot of people knew Sinclair for the production of the Sinclair mini pig. The first litter was born in 1965, and the model was validated for use in a number of research areas. As a medical research farm, it also started operating kind of like a CRO within the university atmosphere. Now, fast forward to the 1980s. This is where Sinclair really got its place on the research map. They did a lot of the pivotal work on identifying and understanding fetal alcohol syndrome. Then in the 1990s, our current sole owner, Dr. Guy Bouchard, a scientist by training who was doing his residency at the university. At that point in time, he had the opportunity to take the lab private and began working on building the blocks of becoming a CRO, getting ALAC accreditation, embracing an entrepreneurial culture, and really starting to build a brand reputation around the work that we could do. Moving into the 2000s, the business continued to steadily expand. We moved to our current site and continued to grow. We started to do much more model development, really going into specific areas of efficacy around metabolic disease, type 1 diabetes. We started doing a lot of dermal work and started expanding our toxicology capabilities to support the biopharmaceutical and animal health industries. We also started expanding our mini pig production business unit, Sinclair Resources, that produces some of the strains of biomedical or mini pigs that are used in biomedical research. Over the last decade, we've seen exponential growth in those areas. Sinclair continued to be very strong in metabolic and dermal indications. We also continued to bring talent and capabilities. We continued expanding our tox capabilities and expanding our general overall capacity and facility footprint to be able to support the growing demand for research. And that brings us to the 2020s, to today, where in spite of a global pandemic, we've continued to expand our workforce, expand our capabilities, adding safety pharmacology services to now be able to support IND enabling programs, and expand our facility with the addition of a brand new extension that opened last summer. Now, some of you are probably thinking, okay, I get it, Sinclair is growing, but is it sustainable? Is the market favorable for continued growth? Are there any market factors that could impact demand? To talk more about the current drivers for growth, I'll hand over the presentation to my colleague, Andy Brown, Vice President, Commercial Operations, to share more about that with you.
Great, thanks, George. So if you've been following the contract research industry, and primarily if you focus on non-clinical CROs, what's happened over the last 5 to 7 years has been a lot of consolidation. So whenever you have a consolidated industry, there's going to be a void typically where there's not a mid-size, large single site CRO that does quality work. And one of the main reasons why I came here was for that opportunity, because you could see it coming. You had Charles River acquiring MPI, they acquired Will Research, you had Covance acquiring the contract research assets from Indigo. There was a void, and sponsors needed alternatives other than just the big two companies. And we saw that as a tremendous opportunity. And we also knew within a consolidated industry, the ability to acquire and attract top talent that may be available was something that we could capitalize on. And we tried to make the most of that. So that's kind of the sets the scene for the industry. Now, the market in terms of drug development, it's never been this good before. So if I were to look at FDA drug approvals, just the average between 2005 and 2009, there were 22 drugs getting approved each year. If you fast forward and look at the average from 2014 to 2018, there were 40. In 2019 alone, there were 48 drugs approved. What's even more exciting is when you look at preclinical compounds that are in development. In 2009, there were 5,000 known compounds that were in development. In 2019, there were 9,200. So a dramatic increase that is continuing. And a lot of that is going to be fueled by investment. So in the earlier days in 2005, 2009, there's about 25 billion in biotech funding, whether via capital markets and VCs. That has increased as of 2019 to 83 billion. And it's just remarkable to see how much investment and funding is going into the biotech area, and how many more companies there are. There's over 5,200 active companies with active pipelines or active compounds in development, which is more than double what it was in 2009. So a tremendous growth opportunity. The market's very favorable right now. Like I said, there's more drug developers, there's more compounds in development, and there's more approvals than there has been historically year on year. So all those things are strong tailwinds for us, and it has a lot to do with our strategy around IND enabling capabilities, building our tox program, and being able to support clients across that drug development continuum with a suite of services that they'll need to get access into the clinic, and then support them in phase 1 and phase 2 as well. You know, what I like about Missouri and what I like about our location is we're situated between a nice collection of, we have St. Louis and Kansas City. We have a good mix of academic institutions that are, you know, generating talent each year, but there's also industry here. There's the animal health industry, and George alluded to with the animal health corridor, but there's also other companies here too. So this is a good environment to be in for the type of work we do. We see it as a competitive advantage in a lot of ways. And then our location is also nice. To be on a single site and not have sites, you know, throughout the US or even globally, it's a lot easier for us to grow organically on that single site. And I'll touch on some of the dynamics of our facility. But we're accessible. We're 90 minutes from St. Louis, a little over 2 hours from Kansas City. You can fly into Columbia directly. There's an airport there. And we're only 20 minutes off of I-70. So for sponsors, whether they're on the West Coast, East Coast, we're kind of in the middle of the country, which is nice. And we're trying to leverage that the best we can. And all those things sort of add up to it's a favorable business environment. Being where we're located, operating on the plot of land that we own, has enabled us to make decisions, make investments, and realize those investments quickly with very little limitation in terms of physical infrastructure, ability to create capacity to support the growth that we've experienced. So Sinclair today, this is what I'm most excited about. So for those of you who have not been able to visit Sinclair, this is an aerial shot that you're looking at here. If you know, you look at the cars that are parked here, there's a lot more cars there now than what's shown in this video. We have 620 acres that we own. Sitting on that, we have about 325,000 square feet of lab space, as well as some administrative space for offices and employee workstations. Our facility is set up in a way that we can handle large animal and small animal studies. Rooms are, we have, I think, close to 100 animal rooms now. And, you know, our design and the facility itself is built in a way that we can make, you know, customized rooms to fit small animal or large animal, depending on what's needed at the time. So we really have a great model that we can scale, that's also customizable to flex with certain types of studies or changes in species. Right now we have about 250 employees. When I started in October, we had 189. So we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of staff, and Ian will touch on that because we're only going to be adding more in the future. So a little, just real quick on quality, and I won't go into too much detail, but of course, if there's questions, I'm happy to discuss that at the tail end of the presentation. We're a fully compliant GLP laboratory, as well as VICH and GCP compliant, and we're also SEND compliant, and we do all of our SEND in-house for sponsors. So one of the things about being a GLP compliant laboratory, that is the standard in which we train to. Not all of the work we do is GLP, but our staff is accustomed and trained to a standard of GLP in which we adhere to in our operations. ALAC accredited for over a decade, and are routinely inspected by both FDA and USDA. We have a very good history with both organizations and clean audit history with both. So it's just a testament to our quality and the standard in which we uphold. When we get into IND Enabling Services, this is really what's happened over the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. And we identified this as being an area where there was growth, one from the consolidated industry that I had referenced earlier, and not being that many CROs that could do IND enabling research or support clients across the drug development continuum. So we doubled down on this and we made investments in growing our toxicology program, as George alluded to. We added safety pharmacology last year, which is a critical component for some sponsors' IND programs. So we can do all that ourselves. We have a strong heritage in model development and creating efficacy models to support clients, and we collaborate with clients every week to help them develop models for pharmacology studies that they'd like to run. And then our post-life and lab services, this is really complementary to everything else that we were doing. We have full necropsy suites in-house, pathology, histology, dose formulation analysis. We added biomarkers and flow cytometry right before safety pharmacology. So that's another new kind of lab service that we launched a little over 2 years ago. And then our clinical lab services as well. So we really focused on an organic growth strategy that's tailored to the needs of our clients and improving, the level of support we can provide and they will need across their drug development program. And then also focusing on hiring and expanding our physical infrastructure to ensure that we can offer competitive start dates, schedule studies quickly, and have the people trained and ready to support the work. So this is our newest expansion. So talk about timing being bad. None of us knew that COVID was going to happen in 2020, but it did. And whenever you build a building, you have to decide a lot of things in advance, right? So we invested and we started this project, no idea what was going to happen in March and how that would change our lives, but we were too far into it at that point. So we opened this brand new facility in May. And it was my goal to have as many of you and as many consultants and sponsors come out for like a ribbon cutting ceremony, which definitely didn't happen because of COVID. But here we are with this brand new shiny facility in the middle of a pandemic, and we can't show it off to anybody unless we do a virtual tour. That wasn't ideal, but nonetheless, we got a new facility. So we increased our capacity about 35%. We added 17 additional animal rooms to help us expedite study starts and keep lead times for our sponsors in check so that we weren't deferring or delaying studies out. You'll see in the picture here at the bottom left, this is just an example of what each room looks like for these 17 additional rooms. We have both fixed and mobile caging layouts to accommodate various study types. On the bottom right, you're looking at our necropsy suite. So we have a state-of-the-art necropsy suite in this facility. We also have another one in our separate facility. So we have two that look like this. And then we have our climate control systems and environmental, that's all computerized and in line with ALAC standards, as well as we use Pristima as our electronic data capture system for doing all of our data collection. So it's been fantastic for me and the folks, the other folks at Sinclair, to be part of a company that's not only growing and was growing pre-COVID, but to get through 2020, open a new facility, start filling that facility up, and now already in 2021, we're seeing really strong indications that this is going to be another great year for us as we continue our growth trajectory. So I just appreciate the opportunity to share this kind of stuff with you guys. It's what we work on every day. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ian.
Okay, thanks guys. Andy, appreciate that. I'm just going to close the meeting with 2 or 3 slides, but I want to focus a bit on the staff, the human element. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the VP of Operations, and I have overall responsibility for the lion's share of the business, which means with all of this growth and this movement, I get to deal with the vast majority of the challenges that occur with any growth phase in a company. Currently, our expansion plans and the resource necessary to support it is one of our primary objectives for 2021. And as mentioned previously, we've seen our staff numbers increase to the tune of 200, approximately 250 over the last 2 years. I'm sure you can appreciate, there has been some significant movement here at Sinclair. Thankfully, 2020, which was our annus horribilis for all of us, we were able to get through it without any layoffs, any furloughs, or any reduction in staff salaries. So we maintained the team, and I think that in itself is a reflection or a testament to the strength of the group that we have and we're cultivating at Sinclair. With all things considered, this growth it's a great position to be in. However, we are anticipating higher demands for our services in 2021. And we're looking to recruit in the essence of 50 additional heads to support the various functions around the facilities, such as IT, study directors, research technicians, and histopathologists. That kind of addition does come with certain challenges. Go to the next slide, George. With all of this growth, we have seen some challenges, which included staff movement out of the operational area and to other parts of the business. And we've also seen some individuals leaving the organization, predominantly because the roles are changing as the scope of work and the portfolio of customers that we bring in. There are greater demands put on different groups, different functions, and we're looking to expand those roles and responsibilities. So to address this, what we did is we made some fundamental changes to our career path of the operational staff. And the new scheme has created a more well-defined pathway for advancing technicians working in the 3 main disciplines. Those disciplines being the in-life area. These are the individuals who look after the animals, they're dosing the animals, they're observing the animals, they're performing biosampling of those animals. And then the post-life group, who will harvest the tissues from the animals, at the conclusion of the tox study, and process those tissues to slide in support of our pathologists. The lab services group, the technicians there, they're processing the blood samples, the urine samples, they're developing bioassays and supporting things like phenotyping in the staff. So there's a great deal of opportunities for our staff. And this new career pathway was designed to enable movement across the 3 disciplines, which certainly helps us strengthen our portfolio of staff. The greater the skill set, the greater the value to the business. So as each technician progresses, we're assessing their performance from a qualitative and a quantitative perspective. We're looking at the skills that they've acquired, and we're going to reward them for those skills as they move through their careers. This career progression scheme is also a great platform to launch technicians who may come in with a Bachelor of Science degree or may not actually, but could still go on, given the skills and the knowledge they've acquired in their early phase of their career, move on to become very good study directors. And we've seen that on a number of occasions, and they have a better appreciation of the whole experimental process because they've worked as a technician and worked as a scientist. Next one. In addition to retaining and creating this bedrock of effective, dynamic technical force, technicians, we do need to attract experienced individuals within the industry. And the reason for that is, as we expand our portfolio, we want to be able to accelerate that and be in a position where we can hit the ground running. Andy spoke recently about the safety pharmacology in support of our IND packages. We brought talent in from other areas to help us actually get to grips with that in a very quick and effective way. These individuals also help invigorate a lot of the talent, or what I refer to as the latent talent within the organization. We're providing additional opportunities, we're challenging the status quo, and we're continuing to build on the technical and the scientific and the soft skills of these individuals to help them expand their role. Now, Andy mentioned that I briefly came over, and I just wanted to share with you my experience of coming from the UK and then spending a good 10, 15 years in New Jersey and then making the transition to Missouri. I remember landing in St. Louis and George gave me the directions, but at no point did I actually realize that Missouri to Columbia was, over 100 miles. So, I got on the phone to a couple of friends in the UK, spoke to them, and before I knew it, I found myself in Columbia. The following morning, however, everybody kept asking me the question, why on earth are you going to Missouri? And I couldn't understand what this concern was. But on my way to my interview, I ran into what I can only describe as a mobile praying mantis. And they got to a point in time where I was wondering whether I'd turn up on time. So being, the kind of person I was, I thought, is this really going to work for me? But once I got into Sinclair, met the team, and actually understood the opportunities, the growth opportunities, and the excitement that was within the group, I was hooked. So here I am now, a year later, a kid from the UK, Cambridge, the UK, who spent time in New Jersey and has now found himself in Missouri. The only thing I haven't come to terms with is this damn praying mantis, which continues to plague the road to Sinclair on a regular basis. With that, I'm going to conclude. If you have any questions for me or the rest of the team, I think now would be a good time.
Ian, that praying mantis, you've probably been seeing quite a bit of the last couple of weeks as the planting season is upon us.
I think he's waiting for me every morning. Actually, I think that's what happens there.
Yeah, we do that to special friends. It might be part of the French welcome to the UK as well.
Yeah.
From Guy, but was really excited to see both yours and Andy's presentation in terms of talking about that. One of the strong points for Sinclair's growth being that access to local talent. And of course, we all know it came from originally from a research farm, but it is it's more of a distinct community than it is a suburb or bedroom territory to Columbia. How is your access to the talent pool coming out of the University of Missouri, and is that still very important to you?
Yeah, a lot of our technicians come from that area, and we've established some relationships with them. I think we now have a new HR guy, and he's looking to expand and establish relationships with some of the other labs around Columbia. But that's certainly a source of resource that we gain from. I think our attending vet still has, some very good contacts there, and I think she's just recruited her second vet only in the last couple of weeks, actually, from the zoo. And of course, we got the hospital and with some of the vacancies that exist in our clinical pathology lab. That was one of the areas that we're in constant contact with, trying to entice people over.
Are there any questions from the floor? You can submit them or send them to me by chat, either way. I remember getting to come up to the site in December of 2019. Dr. Spencer from the University of Missouri joined us as well, as well as our friends at Indavac and KCAS. John Bucksath drove down for that meeting, and little did we know that it would probably be one of the last on-site visits as the pandemic broke. I see a note. We're interested in starting a clinical trial in the UK and wondering if you have experience with CTA submissions with MHRA.
The MHRA, not on the clinical level. The only experience I've had with the MHRA is from an auditing perspective, when they used to come and audit our preclinical labs, but not at a clinical level, unfortunately.
You guys had an earlier webinar today, another group from the team at Sinclair on mitigating research animal stress. Were there any big takeaways from that webinar program that you would like to share? I noticed in one of the presentations that, or one of the slides, that talked about making sure the animal technicians have empathy. And so much of what we try and do across the One Health sector is reducing stress for humans and plants and animals. But how do you guys address that?
Yeah, that webinar, we ran it yesterday with Derek Brocksmith, the general manager from Sinclair Resources, our mini pig production business unit, and Tina Rogers, who's our senior scientific advisor. And it was pretty cool blended presentation, taking a look at, we featured a case study where we had conducted a stress-induced feed denial study where you rolled in a barrel into a room and didn't feed the pigs immediately. And they measured basal cortisol levels and then post-stress cortisol levels. And there's a material impact on something that is so common in a laboratory environment where you're just kind of sending the wrong signal to the laboratory animal. And this is very similar to any kind of behavior that we as pet owners can have, where it sends a conflicting signal to our pets and they may misbehave. It's a very similar type of stress response. So then he walked through a program that had been developed at Sinclair to mitigate stress through a training program with their mini pigs. And if you've ever been around mini pigs in research, it's absolutely stupefying what they've been able to accomplish out at our lab. And then Tina brought it all home and tied together, the impact that stress can have on endpoints, and really the confusion that can create for scientists when they're interpreting their data and needing to answer the question, now, is that result stress-induced, or is that my test article? And so it really gets into that, building a balance between natural animal behaviors, animal psychology, the environment that you're in, and the human interaction. And all four of those things have to be in balance and supported in a laboratory environment to yield optimal study outcomes. That's a long-winded answer.
Does does one of the three of you know if Verbeck here in the St. Louis area is a collaborator or a competitor? It's VIRBAC.
I've not heard of that. Where are they located?
St. Louis, Verbeck. And had a follow-up question from someone else that says, does Sinclair find that sponsors who contract them are also contracting CMC or RA CMC services? If so, does Sinclair find it end up working with the same CMC contract organizations?
So our sponsors are definitely contracting with CMC organizations because they have to synthesize the test article that then gets shipped to our facility to conduct the testing. But we don't actually end up in the drug development continuum. We don't really work directly with CMC or CDMOs.
Okay, thank you, George. Do you know if you're working with anyone at Invigo? At ENVIGO?
Are we working with them?
Mm-hmm.
We obtain animals from Invigo.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got an inquisitory group that loves to put the pieces together.
Well, we probably know half of the people in Invigo, actually. You know, they're old colleagues.
They're all on the birthday texts.
Yeah, give them our regards.
Okay. Make sure I'm on there too, please.
Yeah.
You bet, Kelly.
Okay.
No, it's a very small industry. I've always learned, you know, don't burn your bridges. You never know where you may end up.
So again, our program is recorded today for anyone that would like to go back and remind themselves of something they found especially interesting. We thank Andy Brown, the Vice President of Commercial Operations, Ian Vanderpool, our Vice President of Operations at Sinclair, and native Oxfosian. You'll be the mayor before long, I'm sure of it. And George Carrick, the Director of Marketing for Sinclair Research. We very much appreciate you gentlemen bringing this presentation to us again. And if anybody needs a connection point into that organization, don't hesitate to reach out to them or MOBIO's key representative, Eric Blair, who's also works in business development and on the science side and is well known across Missouri, having been with the company so long. So I wanted to make sure as we finished our presentation today that I kick this to Lisa Zimmerman, our VP of Communications at MOBIO, for just a second.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you to Sinclair and everyone who presented today. I was fortunate enough to be on that tour with Kelly back in 2019. So if Andy does open that back up when things allow, I would highly encourage you to take that opportunity. The gentleman that went with us that year said that was one of the most beneficial tours, presentations that they had attended as far as connecting locally to resources that they needed. So definitely seize that opportunity should Sinclair be able to make that available to us. But on a side note, MOBIO did change our business operations and our website this past month. So part of us being able to reach you is making sure that we have that information accurate. So if you want to be a part of these events and other events with MOBIO, I would just encourage you to reach out to Kelly, myself, or Michelle so that we can ensure that we have, all of your information correct within our system. Please take a look at it and give us your feedback because it's really about service to you in what we do. Thank you, Kelly.
You bet, Lisa. So Yeoman's work for the last several months on transitioning our entire website, our newsletter communications program, the back-end database that allows an association to have strong connections with its member companies, as well as those members' employees. We felt we had gotten to a point we'd plateaued with the old service provider, and this one's going to allow us to flex and take it to a new level. It's also more mobile friendly, so that you're not having to view our website just on a 27-inch monitor, but be able to conduct business on the fly with us as need be. Michelle Lumpkins, could you please talk to us a little bit about upcoming programs?
Yes, upcoming program that is coming is MD Group, which is May 19th at 10 a.m. So watch out for an invite for that as well to get registered for that, probably coming up soon in May. And then another one we have coming up is June 23rd at 11 a.m., which will be BSA Life Structures, and they will be walking us through and talking about Children's Mercy Hospital and that redesign that they just did for them as well. So those are the two ones that are coming up. And then I also just wanted to say that we've welcomed over 20 new members so far in 2021. We're really excited about that. If anyone wants to ever reach out and learn more about becoming a member of MOBIO or taking advantage of some of these programs, such as the Breakthrough, feel free to reach out to me at michelle@mobio.org, and I would be happy to share some of those opportunities with you as well. But thank you guys for a great presentation as well. It was really great.
Thank you very much.
So if you need one of us at MOBIO, we go by the nomenclature of first name at mobio.org.
Okay.
So Kelly, Lisa, or Michelle at mobio.org will reach us. And then if you need one of the Sinclair team members, I've noticed that it's first initial and then full last name, and then at sinclairresearch.com. So someone had asked, what is Eric Blair's email? I believe it would be eblair@sinclairresearch.com. So
that is correct.
very good. Okay. We've got that down, and we're all about making connections and all about honoring the great work that's being done here. We are so proud that Sinclair Research and really so many other involved companies that are involved in this space have found Missouri and the Midwest to be just a great site to do business and expand. We hope everyone has a fantastic end to the month of April, and that you're careful out there on the roads, avoiding those praying mantis. And we will see you very soon down the MOBIO Road. And if not, we'll see you on May 19th with MD Group. Thanks so much.